starting lineups for the Illini basketball team. Season practice is starting next week. We got a lot of depth, so let's talk about who might be the first 5 guys on opening night. Locked On lineup. Let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to a live edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can find us on your favorite audio platform and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast. You can find me at the Sunny V, and on all social medias. Just do a search for Locked On Illini. That way you can kind of message me personally. Let me know what you think of the show, what you like, what you don't like. Speaking of things we don't like, I'll be having Kent from Mr. Casual Big Ten on the show today. We're going to be talking about the starting lineup for the Illini. As I mentioned, practice is starting next week, and it's a question that's on a lot of people's mind. We got a lot of depth. We got a lot. I think we can go 9-10 deep on this team. So to narrow it down for 5 spots for Brad Underwood, it's going to be quite the challenge. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, as promised, I'm going to be bringing on Kent. Kent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Sunny, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited that we're doing this live. Get some people, involved in the show with us here. It's going to be fun, man.
Exactly. For those of you folks who are watching, thanks for joining us. I want to do this a little bit more often. It really depends on time, and we're supposed to do this yesterday, but it just didn't work out on my side. There was an internet outage, but all settled now. Let me know in the comments your predicted starting 5. We're going to go over them in the third segment and see if your guys' differs from ours. But speaking of, Kent, I'm trying to figure out how we should do this.
Yeah.
My thinking is I'll start naming off guys who I think from the most confident level that they're starters to the last one, which may be up for debate. You want to do it that way? And we'll just see if at which point you start disagreeing.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fun. I feel like we're going to agree on the confident guys, at least at the beginning here. So, yeah, let's do it that way.
Okay. Number 1, I'm going to say I'm almost 100% confident that Colin Boswell is starting at point guard.
Absolutely. He is for sure. And it's not because he is the best player to be a starter. It's just because there's nobody else that's behind him that's as talented as him to be a point guard. So that's why he's also my number 1 guy as a starter for this roster. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the best player on the team. Well, I don't think he is, but he's a veteran. He's already had 2 years worth of high major experience playing in some very, intense games for Arizona. And I just think, and he's also really the only pure point guard on this roster. So that's why I think sliding him to the point guard spot was a relatively easy move. So I think I might already be deviating from what the expectation here is, but my second most confident starting spot is the number 4 spot, the power forward. I'm giving to Hummerkaus.
Okay.
And
I agree that I think I also have him starting at 4, but he's not my second most confident position. So I didn't know if you want to have me tell you my second most confident, or I'll go the later.
Let's just talk about Hummerkaus a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So I think he's starting as well.
Yeah, it's the same idea. You want a guy who's had a few years of college experience now. It's funny, most people have forgotten that Ben Hummerkaus is even on this team just because it seems like he committed so long ago. But a lot of folks, me included, now granted this was before Kasparis and Will Riley had committed, we're talking about, Hummerkaus could be the leading scorer on next year's team. He's a guy who can score on all 3 levels. He's had success. I don't want expectations to be high up he's another Marcus Domask or anything like that. But I think he's a good, solid player, a guy that the staff evaluated very, very early. And again, for me, this team is going to be so incredibly young next year that I think, having 2 starters in Boswell and Hummerkaus will kind of at least settle things down at least early in the season.
Yeah, I just think that at that position, and again, I agree with you. I think he is the starter, but at that position, I think it's the deepest spot because there's so many guys that can like even rotate to that position just to get other guys in even. So like a lot of people on this team can play 4, like Trey White, Will Riley could play 4 if you need him to, like Morez Johnson could play 4. Like, so there's so much depth at that position that like it makes me less confident than I am about the other spot that I am. But I am confident that he is going to be the starter, though. So I agree with.
And you didn't even mention Kerry Booth. Kerry Booth is another guy that the staff apparently really likes. He's performed really well in the practices during the off season. I guess they're not technically practices; they're like workouts or whatever you define them by. Practices will be starting next week, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that position is arguably the deepest that we have on the team. There's a lot of guys. I just think that ultimately Underwood's going to go with the guy who's got 4+ years of experience and kind of sets the tone for the rest of the team, which is going to be really young. So my next spot, I'm going to go at shooting guard, and I'm going to put Kasparas Jakushonis. Any arguments there?
No, that was my second most confident position. I think that spot is his to lose, and I don't anticipate him losing it at any point this season. I think that he's just so talented, and he gives you so much at that position that you have to start him. And I'm really confident that he'll be the starter throughout the year at that spot.
Yeah, I mean, he probably should have been my second pick. It's just also one of those where I think we're about to talk about it in the next couple of positions here. When it comes to wings, there's so many options between Kasparas, Will Riley, Trey White. There's just a lot of guys. I didn't even mention Ty Rodgers yet.
Yeah.
So there's so many guys there that I almost wonder if, Brad's kind of put in a position where, does he put in Ty Rodgers at one of the wing spots and give Will Riley the number 2? So, I mean, it's a nice problem to have. Too many good players, at the wing spot. But Kasparas is arguably the most hyped player coming into Illinois, at least during this offseason. And so I would find it highly unlikely that he wasn't going to be a starter. But again, just for the sake of this, or for the nature of this exercise, I put him at the third most confident spot.
I think it's the same thing I said about the 4 position. There's just so many guys that are talented that you can put at different positions. Like we just mentioned Will Riley at the 2 and the 4. So obviously he can play the 3 too. So it's like, there's a lot, if I was Brad Underwood, I would just be so excited because I'd be up all night just making like different lineups, like tinkering with stuff, because these guys, they're so deep and like there's so many different guys you could put at different positions. It's going to be really fun for him. And it'll be fun for us as fans to like watch, like kind of how he progresses through the season and what lineups work the best for different situations. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, no, the season's going to be very interesting for that reason. Last year, the starting lineup was pretty much set. Everyone knew what it was going to be. Right now, I genuinely have no idea. And it kind of starts with these last 2 positions.
Yeah.
Again, things might change, but I'm actually kind of pivoting a little bit. Early on in the offseason, I had a declaration of who I thought was going to be the starting center. But with the season coming up, I think it's like 2 months away, a little less than 2 months away. Practices literally are starting next week. And since we don't yet have a resolution to this whole Avicic story, I'm putting Morez Johnson as my starting center. Simply, he's also a guy who's really been killing it in these offseason workouts. The staff really likes his motor. And so, and I'll have a reasoning for this later because your opinion might differ for the center, but I put Morez as my number 5.
So this is the position that I'm staying on theme here with the 5. I'm the 5th most confident in. I am the least confident in knowing what's going to happen at this position because there's really 3 guys that I think could be the starter. You just mentioned one, but I just went with Kerry Booth because I was so unconfident with it. And like you said I didn't mention him earlier. It was because I was saving it for this spot. I think he's going to be the starter. I'm going to put him there. I don't think it's a wrong answer. I don't think anyone has a wrong answer at the 5 position for Illinois because there's not a guy that in my opinion, that's like leaps and bounds in front of the other two guys. And I don't think there's a big drop off if you know, with the subs at that position. So just kind of by default, I went with Kerry Booth. I really don't have a better explanation than that. Like, I can't say that he's a better player than Morez Johnson, or I don't know how to say his last name. Is it Ivicic? Okay. Yeah. I can't sit here and confidently say that Kerry Booth is better than those two guys, but again, I'm least confident about this position, so I think it could be any of those three.
Yeah, and I don't even know why I didn't think of Kerry Booth. Like the way I phrased it, it sounded like it was going to be either Morez or Thomas Love, but no, Kerry Booth is absolutely an option at the 5, especially if Ivicic can't get this whole visa situation settled. Like it makes sense almost to not want to necessarily start a true freshman, especially if you're already starting potentially two true freshmen in the starting lineup. So you may want to go with a guy like Booth, who, you know, former 4-star who played for Notre Dame last year. So you might be right on this one. But so for me, I'm the least confident. And again, chat, I want to hear what you guys think. And we'll go over some of these comments in the last segment. I keep going back and forth. And I think ultimately the starting 3 will be Will Riley. And I'll provide my reasoning for it. I love Ty Rodgers. I love everything Ty Rodgers brings to a basketball team. And I think every successful college basketball team, if you have championship aspirations, you need a guy like Ty Rodgers doing the dirty work and doing whatever it is that Ty does on the court. But I just talked about having Morez Johnson as my starting center. And if you have Morez Johnson as your starting center and then Ty Rodgers as your starting 3, you have 2 somewhat similar type of skill sets. And with the way the offensive efficiency that Tyler Underwood and Brad Underwood, this new system that we ran last year, I just don't know if we have that flexibility to run that if we have 2 guys on the court who are non-scorers and non-shooters. And so there's certainly an argument for Will Riley, and he probably will be the 3. I'm glad I'm not the one who has to make this decision. But for the sake of lineup balance, and because I picked Morez at the 5, because I went with Morez at the 5, I'm going with Will Riley at the 3. I think I phrased that incorrectly. Ty Rodgers.
I understood what you were saying, though.
Yeah, you got it.
I understood it. I picked up what you were putting down. I think that Ty Rodgers will be the starter only if Brad Underwood is doing it because he's been on the team for 2 years already. Will Riley gives you a higher ceiling, and I think ultimately, like, throughout the course of the season, we'll learn that he's a better player than Ty Rodgers. That's just my opinion. It's the position I'm 4th most confident about, but I am also choosing Will Riley to be the starter. Now, I just saw a video like 2 days ago and I know there's a million videos on Twitter, and anytime I see something, it really influences like how I feel about a player. Is Ty Rodgers going to start shooting threes? Is he going to start knocking them down? Because if he does, then that changes my mood real quick. Like if he's going to develop like a knockdown 3-point shot, then like I want him in the lineup because he does provide things down low already a little bit, like defensively, and he can go get you rebounds. So if he's going to be able to step outside and hit threes, then I want him back. But I just think at this moment, though, I think that Will Riley gives you more. And like I said, his ceiling's higher, and I would have him in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. We'll see. It's one of those, we'll get more feedback once practices start. Ty Rodgers, obviously, the social media team, I don't know if it's by design, but they're showing a lot of clips of him shooting 3-pointers and jump shots and whatnot. And now whether those are the only jump shots that, like if he's going 1 for 2 in jump shots the entire 2-hour practice, that's different. We're obviously only seeing.
I saw him hit 2 or 3 in a row, though. So
who knows? We'll
didn't
see.
Look edited.
We'll see. Again, chat, let us know what you think the starting lineup is. And right after this, we're going to be talking about Penn State, Illinois, and some weird drama going on social media. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play by play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. All right, Kent. Saturday night on NBC, we have a top 20 matchup between Illinois and Penn State. And this game has gotten even more interesting for me just because of the drama over the last 48 hours or so. Now, Penn State is, I think, as of this morning, an 18-point favorite over Illinois. And normally, when you're an 18-point favorite, you have the game at home, you don't need extra added motivation to drum up interest. But that's what's been going on, at least on Penn State Twitter over the last 24 hours, it seems like. Bret Bielema had a post-game conference, or a pre-game conference, and talked for 2 minutes, very complimentary about the Penn State program. He got emotional at one point. And then there was a couple Penn State-based Twitter accounts who kind of clipped a 13-second clip where Bret Bielema said, where he talked about, I think they're doing something about whiteout energy, whatever that means. And all of a sudden, they took that 13-second clip and made it sound like he was somehow trying to disrespect the entire Penn State fan base and that football team. And later, Bret Bielema was on doing a local spot in the Chicago radio show, and the host talked about this whiteout game, and the host, again, note the host, not Bret Bielema, said, "Well, I mean, you played in Nebraska last week, which was probably a tougher environment anyway." Bret Bielema didn't say those words, but a couple of those Penn State accounts ran with it, and now they're accusing Bret Bielema of doubling down and almost disrespecting this whiteout energy comment. And before I chip in, let me hear your thoughts on this whole weirdness.
Okay, well, first of all, I got to put my hand up because I quote tweeted a Barstool article that said that he said it, and I was corrected really quickly, but I don't ever delete anything, so I just left it up. I don't care. And I actually responded to one person, I think, and I said, I wish he did say that, though, because it would make it way better if he was like, yeah, we played at Nebraska. It's tougher than going to Beaver Stadium. We're not worried about them at all. I would love that. I would love if Bret did that. And honestly, so I didn't see the radio interview. I did go back and watch the full 2-minute clip that you were talking about. And like you said, I was kind of shocked based on the reaction that was happening on Twitter, and then watching the video back about how nice he was being about Penn State. It was interesting. But here's the thing though, man, I know I'm on an Illinois show right now. Penn State is going to find reasons to get motivated as fans. Their players don't care about this stuff, man. Their coach doesn't care about this stuff. I don't think, I don't think that James Franklin is sitting in his office I can't believe Bret Bielema right now. I'm so mad. I think it's more the fans. And honestly, like I said, this is what kind of makes games more exciting for me, when fans are going back and forth, and some of the fake drama almost makes it even better. And I'm so excited about this game. It's going to be an awesome game. No matter what happens, by the way, I think it's going to be a great game.
I mean, I really think it's almost a compliment to Illinois and the football program this year. With the fact that James Franklin is asking, the crowd and the fans to show up with whiteout energy. Normally they reserve those whiteout games for what they deem to be some of their toughest night games of the year. It's a spectacle. Everyone, even if you're not a Penn State fan, if it's the evening time and the whiteout game is on, it's fun to watch. That environment is, breathtaking. And the fact that, they've already picked Washington this year for their official whiteout game. Now, obviously, it looks like Illinois is a lot better than most people predicted. And this game could have some implications on the Big Ten title picture almost essentially. Now, granted, I'm not even remotely hinting that Illinois is in that title picture, but I'm just saying that this has implications. If somehow Illinois were to pull off the upset like they did last week, then all of a sudden you're talking about a 5-0 Illinois, and with two very daunting games ahead of them. But two losses could get you in the CFP picture. So it's an important game. And going back to what you said about Bret Bielema, like, even if he did say it, like, why wouldn't he say it, right?
Right.
Like, because, whiteout. Is he supposed to have his own players intimidated by this whole whiteout energy? He's right. He's like, hey, he wants to set the scene. He doesn't want his players to come in nervous. He doesn't want his players being told, hey, are you ready? This is going to be whiteout. Like, Penn State always wins. No, Bret is setting the scene for him. Like, hey, you went into Lincoln last Friday in front of a sold-out crowd for the 400th straight sellout, and you went in there as 9-point dogs and you won. If you can do that, then you can certainly – there's no environment in college football that you can't come out victorious. And so you're right. Like, I wouldn't have minded him if that is what he meant. But, the I don't know, the hurt that Penn State fans are trying to feel, I guess you're right. It's just one of those fans trying to get more emotionally invested in this game.
Well, as a neutral observer of this game and somebody that's involved, I feel like semi in this conversation online, I think that there's a lot of blame to go around on both sides, though, because as much as Penn State fans are making a big deal out of what Bret Bielema said, there's also Illinois fans that are like, quote unquote, Penn State's making this their Super Bowl. I'm so sick of this being like their Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, what are they supposed to do? They're like, don't you want them to be excited to play you? I don't understand that angle. Like, am I missing something with that? Like, I would want to be everybody's Super Bowl.
No. You're right. I know who you're talking about. But let's just say that there's a certain circle in Illini social media that goes around, and you've seen the Luke Altmaier.
What is going on with that? I need to know. What is happening?
It's some kind of like private group that just basically goes around and harasses all these fan bases, the opposing fan bases. Yeah, it's. I know what you're talking about, but you're right. Like, a lot of folks didn't expect much from the Illini this year, right? And so the fact that all of a sudden on Saturday night, NBC picked our game to be their primetime game at 6:30, showing the game to everybody. And Penn State, this isn't a regular ho-hum game for Penn State either. Like, they are telling you, their coaching staff is telling you that this is going to be an intense game, that they need, as much energy as possible. Ultimately, it's just a compliment to Illinois. We're a third of the season done already. We're going to be beyond a third after Saturday. And the fact that we're here, I think it's just symbolizes even more so how good things have been so far this year.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's been, I have been wrong about Illinois since the beginning of the season, and I'm probably going to be wrong about them this weekend as well, because I think Penn State's really, really good. Yeah. I think that I mean, I came on here and said that you kind of want me to say this, I think, because I said the same thing about Nebraska last week. I think a night game in that environment is going to be really tough to go get a win, and I think Penn State's going to win. So if you're an Illinois fan, you should be really excited that I just said that, because I said the same thing last week and you guys went and lost. By the way, I am 4 days away from – I got an update from Fanatics yesterday. My jersey will be here in 4 days.
All right.
I won't be able to wear it. I won't be able to wear it Saturday, but I will have it on. You guys have a game next week, or is it bye next week?
No, we have a bye week, but we'll still bring you on. We can talk Big Ten, big picture stuff, and we got to see the jersey.
I will definitely have the jersey. I'm going to tweet it out as soon as I get it. I'm excited about it.
And for those of you watching for the first time, Kent, I got to bring this up because
that's okay.
Not everyone watches every
I'm
episode.
over it now.
During the offseason, Kent projected Illinois to have 2 wins all season long. Not 2 wins in conference, 2 wins all season long against Eastern Illinois and Central Michigan. And he had us going 0-4 during the conference season. And he tweeted out that if Illinois somehow upset Nebraska last Friday, he would buy a Luke Altmaier jersey and wear it during every Illinois game. So Kent, being the stand-up man that he is, tweeted out his receipt, and it sounds like next week during Locked On Illini, we might be seeing the debut of the Luke Altmaier jersey.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. First of all, in the tweet, I want to clarify. I didn't say if they somehow win. I just said if they win,
okay, fair enough.
I will atone for my sins of saying that they were only going to win 2 games, and it was a peace offering to Illinois fans. Like, hey, I was so wrong about this team. I'm admitting I was wrong. Here's my peace offering. And then one other side note, I got a free. They actually matched how much I spent on the jersey in there. I didn't know Fanatics had a sports book, so I got $133 in bonus bets. Turned that into $200 and cashed it out yesterday. By the way, so I got the jersey basically for free plus some money back. So it actually ended up being a great deal for me, like across the board. Won some NFL bets. Went pretty good, man. This was a good deal for everybody. I think everyone is happy now.
Everyone wins. Everyone wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Right after this, we're going to be talking your comments and just random news and notes that are going around in the Illini world. This episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you need to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Right now, Caleb Williams' passing yards, just 1 yard, gets you a win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Me living now in Texas, again, I don't have a choice of online gambling, so Prize Picks is kind of my go-to at this point. Just remember to download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONCollege on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Talk about energy in that ad. I may have to redo that one. Looks like I'm squinting.
It's always the worst, like watching yourself talk, like after the fact.
I always try to step out of the room. So students' season tickets went on sale for the basketball team this past week and sold out in a record, I think it was 26 minutes. There's a lot of excitement for this team. I love it. You know, again, you're talking about a lot of freshmen and students, like sophomores. This is what the fan base kind of needs, right? Like Illinois, we know, is a rabid basketball fan base. And I think it's fair to say, like, when you're a student at a university and you're attending games for 3-4 years, that has a better opportunity to kind of instill a lifetime of being a fan of your college team. And so the sellout in 26 minutes, I think it's a good sign. Like, we've got basketball that we're always excited for, and now we've got a football team that's 4-0 that a lot of folks are excited for. I think right now it's just it's a fun school to be a fan of the athletics.
I agree. I mean, Illinois is not my team, but you know, like I said earlier, as a neutral observer, it's been fun to follow what they've done, you know, for the last few years. Really, it's kind of been a roller coaster with football, like the great season 2 years ago and then kind of a drop off last year, coming back this year. And then with basketball, you know, making the deep-ish run last year, I'll call it, like a pretty deep run, and chance to go to the Final Four, really close to going to the Final Four. It's just been really fun to follow these two teams the last few years as well. Like not only just this year, but the last few years, I would say. So yeah, I would be excited if I was an Illinois fan. Like I said, not my team, but still fun to watch even from the outside.
I've talked about this, and actually now that the thought is coming back in my head, Kent, let's write this down for a future segment idea. I would want to know, I'd like to go one by one through each Big Ten team and see if I would rather have Bret Bielema and Brad Underwood, that coaching combo, over what they have. Because right now, I don't know. Right off the top of my head, I don't know if there's another combination from another Big Ten school that I would trade with. And that tells you something for a school like Illinois, who, again, doesn't necessarily have the football resources that some of the other programs have. But I think the guy we have instilled at our basketball program, who obviously I'm highly complimentary of, but then also combined with Bret Bielema, who I think is the perfect guy for Illinois football. Again, I'm not going to get too deep into it right now, and I'd love to give me initial thoughts. Let's not do a deep dive of it. Let's talk about this. I think this might be perfect bi-week material next week, actually, now that I think about it.
I think that's a great idea for a segment. I would say that my initial thoughts were I was running through who the best coaches in basketball are and then comparing the football. So like I just went to like Painter and then like Walter's like terrible like for the football program. But I would say that right off the rip, the only one I could even get close to like being on Illinois' level is a wait and see situation for football is Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they have Izzo, but then they just got a new coach. And I think that Michigan State's doing great for this year. First year coach, and then their only loss was at Boston College, and Boston College is legit. So maybe them, but it would be fun to like really dive into it and go through all the schools though.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that next week. So let's catch up on the chat real quick. Leprechaun of NOFC, good morning. Thanks for and again, Ken and I are thinking about doing this a little more often because Kent's availability and my availabilities in the mornings actually works out pretty well. So if you do like us doing the live shows, let us know. Let us know in the comments whether you're watching this live or afterwards, and maybe we can make this a little more frequent type of thing. Pretty much all the transfers are starting, and Riley. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this on Illini Cast. We have 30 people in this chat. Okay, well, I could hear 30 different variations of the lineup, and I could probably agree with it. Like, I think an argument can be made for all of them. So it's a good problem to have. By the way, 30 people in this chat. I don't think we have 30 likes. So definitely hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're joining us for the first time. I'm making Illini content for you every single day. Every single day there's going to be a new video, and including weekends. I've been throwing out videos on the weekends for you guys as well. And it's easy to do because you guys support the channel so well. Let's see what else we got here.
I think it's all just him throughout the whole show because I was on here and
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The experience at Notre Dame for Kerry Booth. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame is a football school, and I know he played decently well over there, but he was a high 4-star athlete. Obviously, he's got NBA blood in him. His father, and now I believe he works in the front office of the Denver Nuggets. So I think Booth is definitely a player to keep an eye on. I'm glad Altmaier's looking great now with only a fumble turnover. Yeah, I mean, his last 6 games last year, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Right now, through 4 games, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You're talking about 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in his last 10 games. Now, I don't think he's a superstar quarterback, but he's a very, very good. He's an elite game manager quarterback. That's how I would phrase it.
I do have a question about that real quick for you and anybody else that is listening, I guess. Do you think that the Penn State game from last year is in the back of his head, though?
I do. I actually talked about this on one of the episodes this week, and I'm going to be talking about it in my actual prediction video, which I'll be releasing soon.
So stay tuned, people.
So stay tuned. But the general gist is this could be the revenge tour for Luke Altmaier. Right? Kansas, we lost last year. He came back, and I issued a challenge video saying, hey, everyone's talking about Jalen Daniels. Luke, I want to see you perform and let the country know that, hey, there's 2 good quarterbacks playing this game. He did. He outplayed Jalen Daniels. Last week, I was like, hey, everyone's talking about Dylan Raiola. Understandably, 5-star quarterback, number 2 prospect in the country last year. Nebraska was 3-0. All the attention was on Nebraska. And for me, it was like, Luke, 90% of the college football world is watching this game. Here's your chance to go into a rough environment and come out and people will start recognizing you. And he did. And I feel like people have. Now, all of a sudden, a lot of national shows are talking about Luke Altmaier. I actually saw him, I think, top 8 in the power rankings of quarterbacks this season for one of the major media outlets. So he's starting to, get that attention. But I really think he can kind of put an exclamation mark if he has a good game against Penn State. Because as you said, I think a lot of people made up their minds on Luke Altmaier last year after that first half where he
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I 100% did that. And like, I've admitted that. So
yeah. So
at least I'm honest with myself, though. I was wrong about it.
Right. And again, that's why I have fun with you, right? Like, at least if you're being stubborn about it, I handle things a little bit differently. But you've kind of waved the white flag, and
for
at
sure,
this point, we can have a more fun conversation about it. But I guess that'll wrap it up for this episode. Kent, thank you again for coming on. And next week is a bye week, but regardless, I think we've come up with a fun topic to discuss. Before I let you go, you want to let the folks know where to find you on everything?
Yeah, sure. It's just I only do X and a little bit of YouTube. I'm actually in about 45 minutes playing a semifinal game for our Dynasty League. I'm undefeated. I'm the best player in the world at that game. So come watch me play video games in about an hour. And doing lots of tweets. It's been so fun this football season, just consuming the content and then also just kind of coming up with my own as well. So yeah, go find me on mainly Twitter is where I do most of the stuff.
And I will say, if you are on Twitter, definitely follow Kent's account. Some of his posts are one of the more entertaining ones that you're going to find. Some serious and some not so serious, but it's always fun to see the reaction that he can get out of certain fan bases. I know him well enough now that I know like when he's playing and when he's not, but definitely follow him. He'll make your whole experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Thanks, man.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Locked On Illini. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. And again, this was live. If you enjoy the live episodes, let me know in the comment section. That's how I'll continue doing this moving forward. I will be doing a live episode post-game against Penn State, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit that notification bar. Just remember, like button, subscribe button, costs you guys nothing, and it helps this channel grow, and it sends it to other people, other Illini fans, and it'll show up in their algorithm, and it just helps me build this community. There's another Big Ten squad episode tonight, and guess what? This one I'll be a part of. So I'm in the panel. We talk Penn State, we talk Illinois, we talk about Illinois' 4-0 season thus far. So definitely tune into that. And then tomorrow I have Mike Carpenter, the host of the 200 Level podcast, who's releasing a new book, and we're going to be talking about the basketball season starting next week and his new book. And otherwise, Saturday post game, I'll see you there. ILL, love you guys.